Hello there. I thought that it was about time that I gave you a bit of an update on this whole Lamenters army thing that I've been doing for the last couple of years. Especially because, well, it's done. I finished it. I I know that little asterisk appeared at the top of the screen there, but we'll get to that before the end of the video. Don't worry about it. Just ignore it. And here we are, my field of sad boys. So if you didn't see the last video I made on these, the general conceit of this army is that they are made of miniatures from between 1987 to 1989. There are a few things that go outside of that, like the LE2 down here, but, that's mostly where they come from. So that means that it's based in the early couple of years of first edition. So it's all B keys, basically. Now, since the last time, there's some stuff that's been added, and of course everything's now been painted. I think the last time I showed you these, the Rhino over here wasn't finished, the Spartan wasn't finished, the Landspeeder wasn't finished, I think one of the Librarians wasn't done, Death Company wasn't done, there was, I think, one of the tactical squads wasn't done yet. I think there was even one of the Devastators not done. And I've entirely added another tactical squad and the Terminator squad. And the other Librarian. That's all been added since last time. So, I know it's been like nearly 2 years since I last showed you them, and it doesn't look like I've done that much, but to be fair, I wasn't just doing these. But yeah, so I guess I will talk to you about the stuff that has been added. If you want to learn, if there's stuff that I don't mention, then it's probably in the previous video, which if I was smart, I would have watched so I'd remember what I said in it, but I didn't. So if I repeat anything or I forget to mention something, well, that's your problem now. So we'll start off with a boring one, which is one of the tactical squads. I couldn't tell you exactly which minis are the new ones since last time, because most of them are just, RTB01s, and they all kind of look the same. But 10 more have been added. Some of the more interesting things is, where is he? My Christmas Marine. There he is. There's my Christmas Marine. It's right there. Him as the sergeant, he's one of the 1987 Christmas Marines, who looks really weird. But he's a sergeant, so I managed to pick one of those up. I've got the Needle Gun Marine, I think I picked up as well, because I wanted one of the weird guns. Again, I've mentioned this before, but whenever there's a gun that isn't part of the current game, or is just not really something that Marines have anymore, I just run it as a bolter. So I think in the modern model, it was a disintegration rifle that the LE2 has, and there's a shuriken catapult one, and the needle gun one. They're all just bolters as far as running them is concerned, because that's just simpler for everyone, really. But yeah, so that's just another tactical squad. Nothing that interesting there. The Terminators over there, those, I had a couple of those, and I'd had them for a while, that they came in, because they came in the PO box. But it actually took me a while to finally get a hold of the ones that I needed to finish that off. Because I always get the number of this one wrong. I think it's RTB9 box. I think it's the RTB9. Is the box of metal Terminators that those all come from, which comes from 1989. And though they are individually all up on eBay all of the time, quite frequently they're either missing arms, or they end up going for a lot of money individually, and you're not necessarily going to get the exact weapon loadout that you wanted. But eventually I got an email from someone who was like, hey, I've got a few of them to sell. I've got a load of them to sell. How many of them do you want? And I was like, I need 3 of those, so I'll have those. Thank you. But yeah, so they're actually, I will say, those were an interesting challenge to paint, because the overall thing's quite simple, like the basics of them, and quite fun to paint, but there's 2 elements that drove me kind of nuts. One of which is the helmet stripe, because in the OG Rogue Trader sort of scheme, a veteran stripe, which obviously all Terminators are veterans, is the typical trooper red stripe, but with horizontal black stripes going down it, which is already, not, is already very easy to make look messy. But then when you do it going down the weird pug face that Terminators have, that's a nightmare. I think it looks okay, but I also don't look too closely at them, especially the Sergeant, because he's got two white stripes going down that as well, so that was an absolute nightmare to do. And also the shoulder pads, because they are really asymmetrical. So it means that the Lamenters pads that are obviously reliant on having checks that, look vaguely sort of natural, can't, because they're so asymmetrical that you can't. We can, but it's very hard to try and make them look both straight and balanced. I think I did okay, but it was a tricky one, I won't lie. The other major things are all, well, I say major things. The other things that were painted was obviously the Rhino, Spartan, and just lots of little bits. The Death Company were some of the last things that I got around to, because I don't know why, but I always hate painting just pure black. It's just very annoying to paint, I personally find. Despite it being, I find black to be both the easiest and hardest colour to paint, and I've painted a whole army in yellow, so I know about painting things that are annoying. But they, what I do with black is I always put a little bit of very watered down brown into the edges of things to make it look like kind of dirt's caked into sort of the recesses a little bit, so it gives it a little bit more depth. Because otherwise you're just highlighting it. And I find that means that it looks like it's lacking depth next to stuff that's like normally washed and stuff. I don't know if I necessarily recommend doing that or that it's necessary, but I did it, and yeah. On reflection, one thing I do wish I'd done with the Death Company is I had just gone pure red with them rather than doing replacing the red on the crosses, making those yellow. I kind of wish I had done them red. On reflection, I think they would. I think they'd pop really nicely against the rest of the army. But what can you do? So what else we got? So the Spartan. That was a lot. So that thing is made from... the main body comes from a recast Land Raider that was sent to the PO box, and the front part is actually an original Rhino part, which again was sent to the PO box. But combining those things together, and especially because the recast Land Raider was not intended to be made in resin, which, it being a recast, it was made in resin because that's obviously a lot easier than plastic. And because of that, it got warped really badly, because obviously everything's really thin because it's meant to be made out of like regular plastic. And so getting everything to line up was really difficult. If you look on the tracks and stuff, you can see a lot of dodgy areas where parts just would not line up. So there's a lot of milliput and sanding down and filing down, just trying to make everything go together. And it's a bit rough in places. You can see like down the front here. There's some parts where I really should have really tried to neaten it up, but after so long, I was just like, screw it. I just need to get it done because it was taking so long and I was starting to lose patience with it. But because I'm not a person who makes good decisions, after already getting slightly miffed making it, I decided to do the checkers on the side, which I initially did for the sensible reason, I thought, of making it so that it would break up its silhouette. So that it would look less like Land Raider, because obviously it's made from a Land Raider chassis, so it's always going to be very similar to it. But to try and differentiate it a bit, I thought having the stripe down the side would break up the silhouette in a way that would separate it a little from the Lamb Raider. But once I did it, I realised that the other problem with that was that painting checks over an uneven surface at scale that bisects yellow is an absolute goddamn nightmare to do. And I will never, ever do it again. I'm glad I did it once, but never again. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. One thing I do actually really regret about that is, and I can fix it later, and I probably will, is that the las cannons that are on the side are held on just by a tiny little sliver of resin. Because on the originals, it's just a little bit of plastic. And those break off all the time. If you look online for second-hand Lamb Raiders, you will find that the vast majority of them are missing the las cannons. All the las cannons are broken off at some point because it's such a thin piece of plastic that breaks easy. Now, these ones, being resin, are even easier to break. And I realised after I'd painted it all and I got them all in there that what I really should have done, because they have broken off several times and they're pinned at both ends, is I should have just replaced the entire thing with a bit of brass rod. And as soon as I realised that, I was like, man, I should have just done that. But I can foresee myself at some point, the next time they break off, I'll probably just rip them off and drill some holes in the side of it to mount the brass rod and just do that. So I guess enjoy seeing it with its resin las cannon spokes for this particular video. But yeah, I will say that, like, I took a lot of time off from painting this, which is why it's been like nearly 2 years since the last update, and I've not painted that much of them in the grand scheme of things since then. But painting all of this yellow, all the checks, it was a bit of a faff, and I had to take some time away from it so that I wouldn't get entirely sick of doing it. And I'm glad I did, because it meant that when I came back to it, I was able to get it all finished, and it wasn't like pulling teeth. And on some level, I kind of miss it already. I guess that's the thing when you finish a project. Sometimes you finish a project and you're like, I'm glad it's done, and sometimes you're like, whilst it is satisfying to have it done, on some level, I kind of wish I had more to do still, and I think it's a good sign when something's the latter, because this has been great fun to do, and I think that's about it. Obviously, if you want to see some of these things in more detail, some of them have shown up. They've shown up in dozens of videos at this point, and I did my showcase of them from a while back. That a bunch of the stuff I haven't talked about is in there. There's a point. I did finish the land speeder. That is a nightmare, by the way, because it's all metal. It needs to be on a flight stand, and because of the way the little guys are so scrunched up on it, you really do have to paint it in separate pieces. So they had a little paperclip jammed up their arsehole. More accurately, I had to drill them an arsehole and then stick a bit of paperclip up there so I could hold them in a pin vise, so that I could paint them without just rubbing the paint off constantly. Because obviously there's no base to hold onto or to put into a painting handle. That was a nightmare. I love it. It's a goofy little thing, but I love it. So if you want to see more of the individual parts, they're in other videos. You'll have seen them knocking around. Some are in my old painting logs on my side channel, Wib Does Stuff. Some are on the more modern painting logs from the PO Box, the Wib Paints Your Minis, that's what it's called. Some are in there, and if you follow me on Blue Sky and you scroll back through, because I've been doing a hobby streak recently where I finished these off, you'll see what I painted recently. If you want to see individual minis in more detail, I guess for this bit, because I'll cut back to me the face me, the me that is recorded when my face is recorded. Before I cut back to that, I do just want to say a big thanks to everybody that sent minis into the PO box that ended up in this army. Because whilst a lot of a lot of it is me. I bought, in terms of raw numbers, most of the minis I bought myself. I sourced them myself. A good chunk of the more fancy miniatures, like the Land Raider, like the bits that made the Spartan, like the OG Terminator. Those were sent into the PO box, and lots of the individual units have like an odd miniature here and there that was sent to the PO box. Land Speeder as well. So thank you very much to everyone who sent something into the PO box that has ended up in this army. It would not be anywhere near as impressive without that. So thank you very much. And yeah, I guess I will. I'll cut back to me now. Thank you, not speaking directly to the camera, me. So. Army done. I've moved on to started doing other projects now. My a Grot Rebellion tank company being the thing that I'm currently working on. Again, if you follow me on like Blue Sky or whatever, you'll have seen me working on that. Or if you're a patron at patreon.com/snipeandwib, there is an exclusive video of me talking about it. But yeah, so though the army is done, you're gonna still see them show up on the channel a bunch, because they're usually the army that I have to hand when I need to like lay things out to like show examples in videos or whatever. So they get used a lot for that. So you're not going to see the end of these guys. Also, I should probably acknowledge the little asterisk we put up there, which is that though this army is done. That doesn't mean that I won't ever paint another Lamenter and add to this force, because not only is it an army that I can use in not only modern games but in older editions if I want to as well, because obviously they're made from older stuff. So there's basically I have options to play these in any edition of the game basically. Although obviously some things won't work in some, because I've got my Eliminator proxies over there, and they obviously can't really do anything in the older pre-Eliminators existing games, and there's some stuff in here that doesn't really work in the modern game very well either. But because they are not just an army, but they're also my collection. They are my collection of old Space Marines. So there are some things that I have been able to find or were sent to me that I've been able to add to them, and there's some stuff that I just haven't been able to track down, or more accurately, haven't been able to find in a good enough condition and for a price that I'm happy to pay. A good example being Space Marine bikes. If I could get a small squad of Space Marine bikes together, they're going in here. Likewise, there's a few other things like scouts. If I could get a whole squad of scouts together, I'd probably add them as well, because those are things I just don't have represented. I don't have like a squad of them, so so that'd be nice to add. There are other things as well, like at some point I would like to get I've got all the parts for it. I just need to do it. I would like to add a more conventional jump pack chaplain, because the jet bike back here. That's run that's there, and it would be run as a chaplain with a jump pack, because obviously jet bikes aren't a thing for most things, for most Marines who aren't Samael, I guess, or heresy ones. So he's run as a jump pack one, but obviously he is on a flight stand, and he's a big metal model on a flight stand, so I don't trust it. So for playing outside of the home, I would prefer to have a more conventional jump pack chaplain, and I'll probably do that at some point. The only concrete thing that I will probably be doing to these at some point is I do want to add 2 more tactical squads, so that I can have a full 6 tactical squads. Now, the reason for this is because I, one day years ago, realised that it would be really, it would be funny to be able to have an army that is not only made of old miniatures, but is painted as bloody Lamenters of all things. And to then be able to do a foot slogging force with them, where I can drop down 60 Marines if I want, and just foot slog them across the table. I think that's quite funny. It shows a commitment to my army that borders on mania, and I think it would be helpful for me in the psychological warfare aspect of Warhammer 40,000. And once that idea came into my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to do that at some point. So, but that's down the line. When I say they're done, what I'm really saying is, for the time being, this is no longer an active project. It's something that I will add stuff to over time. Is any project really done? But everything that I currently have is painted. I don't have anything lying around that is, apart from that, like I say, I've got those bit parts to make a chaplain. I do have some bits of RTBO ones and things like that, but nothing's urgent. There's no stuff that is waiting to be undercoated and is like assembled or anything. It's just some parts lying around that may one day end up in this, but they might not. I might not bother with any of the stuff for the future. Because I know I did mention, actually in the last video, I did mention that I wanted to do a Sanguinary Guard squad. But the more I kind of tried to put it together, trying to make one from old parts, the more awkward it became. It has actually become slightly easier now, because now you can have Sanguinary Guard that are just 3 people, as opposed to having minimum of 5. So, actually no, wasn't. Oh, didn't they bring it down to like it was a minimum of 4, but you can have the standard bearer thing, or whatever. Now it's down to 3. Maybe I might finally do it. But again, down the line. For all intents and purposes, this is done now. And yeah, really happy with it as a project. Really, was really fun to do. I mean, it was fun for me anyway. Which might sound strange, doing the whole yellow paint thing. Thank you for watching. Thank you again to everyone who sent something into the PO box that got added to this army. And thanks to everyone who's like kind of just giving me really nice reinforcement when I've talked about these, whether it be in videos or whether it be on social media or whatever. It's been really nice to see people's reactions to this, and yeah. So I guess I will see you. I don't know. Probably in another couple of years, when we find out that this done army is not in fact done, and I've found some way to add a ton more stuff to it. Bye.